Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. I think we're on number 31, Max.
Wes, you sound a little more comfortable doing the introductions now.
Yeah, well, I'm learning.
I'm proud of you, bro.
Thanks. I'm proud of you, too.
Thank you.
I think...
I don't know if it's 31. I know we're over 25 because that was a few episodes ago.
we are over... Yeah, you're good at math.
Yeah. Or logic, one of the two.
Nah, just math.
No, it's... I'm glad,
I saw some... Or we both saw some exciting news on our podcast website.
Yeah.
This last day.
So... As many of you know, last week I was getting a little, I don't want to say empathetic. I was just getting a little, we had a moment where I was thanking everybody for listening to our podcast. And it's been a fun adventure so far. It's been fun watching the podcast grow. But, time comes where the chapter, the page has to turn and the chapter comes to an end. So we will be closing down.
Please.
I'm just kidding. No, I actually just wanted to share the exciting news. We reached a new milestone on our podcast, 10,000 unique downloads. Yeah. Over 40, how many countries?
42 countries.
42 countries and like 5 continents or something.
Yeah.
Where's all of our Iceland? Where's Antarctica listeners?
I think we've only gotten 2 total listens from all of Africa.
Oh.
So... They're slacking a little bit.
Hey, but they're still in there. Hey, yeah. Shout out to those 2 African listeners.
Yeah, it could just be one who listened to 2 episodes, though.
Yeah, possibly. But anyways, it's been super exciting to see these milestones get reached on something that we started at nothing with. You know what I mean? One day last year, Wes and I were traveling, and he's like, let's start a podcast. And I was like, that sounds good. We both love talking poker. Why not just record it?
Yeah.
We came up with the name one night on a trip, while we're out playing poker. And here we are.
You came up with the name.
7 months later or so. And we're steadily seeing our podcast grow. And it's just super exciting. I'm very thankful to have all of you guys as listeners. I'm thankful for all of you guys who come up and say you enjoy the podcast. And then also thankful for everybody in the Discord who continuously chats and supports each other. We had an outstanding showing at the MSPT this weekend with some of our listeners.
To be clear, Max and I didn't, but some of the listeners in the Discord did.
Yeah, congrats to Chuck Kersey.
Yep.
Final table that. Good.
6th place?
Something like that, 6th or 7th, yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats to my good friend Rob O'Connell, who ended up getting 4th place. Good. Congrats to Jay Chaudhry. Did I say that right? I still
Chaudhry.
Yeah. Anyways. Jay, congrats
11th.
to you, the 11th place. It was super fun. Our Discord chat was just going nuts.
Joe is in the Discord as well.
Oh, yeah, and Joe.
He got 9th.
Congrats to Joe. I saw that. That was a brutal one where he opened jammed. What was it, like 15 bigs with 10s or something from late position?
Yeah, just ran into kings.
Ran into Rob's kings. So a good run by you there. That's a tough spot. I mean, that's just what you do. So anyways, it was fun. Everybody was sweating. We had people live updating in the Discord chat since the MSPT updates are slow.
Yes, we did.
It's a one-man show. It's not a diss on MSPT in any way. Anthony does a great job with the reporting. So
yep.
Just wanted to clarify that. But
yeah, congrats to everyone who ran deep in that. Max did not make day 2. I kind of wish I didn't because
you bubbled.
Yeah.
Soft bubbled.
Queens and the Kings, 93 left, 90 paid. Not much I would have done differently. But
if you listen to our last week's episode, we did a little prop bet where we each chose, 4 different players to make a final table. Wes was free rolling me on day 2 as all my picks were already out.
You had a couple picks make day 2.
Yeah,
but they were bust open.
But you had 2 people alive when all mine were out.
Yeah, I had 2 guys. I had Koo and Jason Sell, who were both at the final 3 tables. I think Koo was at the final 2.
Yeah, and if either of them made the final table, I would have owed Wes a nice fancy dinner. So,
yeah. And I know this counts for nothing, but I will say that I almost picked Joe Larson, and he did get 9th.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, I'll ask you that on a separate question. Joe, congrats to you, man. Sick run. I think you played great there. Yeah, anyone else we're missing on that made a deep run?
Probably, but we can't,
Yeah.
Chris Jones was in there. I don't know how deep he made it. He was on my left when I busted.
Was he?
Yeah.
Man, those rec poker guys, they wanted to talk some trash and try to get a prop bet going with us, but I don't know, the terms fell through and they kind of ghosted me on the prop bet. We were going to do a last longer.
They should.
They should.
That would have worked well for them. That would have worked out.
But now we don't have to, talk about how great rec poker is.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Obviously, we love the rec poker guys.
Yeah. Most of them.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. There's one I really hate.
Which one's that?
I don't know. Just firing some shots.
Okay, there we go.
Firing blanks, actually. But
and you mentioned Jason Sell a minute ago. Shout out to that guy.
yeah, we actually just came from having lunch with Jason Sell. We also made a quick $20 a piece off of him.
Not only did he buy us lunch, Jason, hey, I hope you're listening to this, buddy, but thank you for that free $20.
Yeah. We were talking about this tournament he got second place in Council Bluffs. And Max was like, oh, yeah, that 1100. And Jason was like, no, but it was,
It was a 300 or 400.
It was like, 5, 6, 3, 400.
And I was like, no, it's an 1100. I remember walking by your table and you just got into town. And Wes was like, yeah, I think it was an 1100 too. And then I was like, let's pull. I was like, and he's like, so insistent. He's like, no, it was like a 400. And I'm like, well, let's pull up Hendon because Hendon can confirm this for us. And he's like, you want to bet on it? And I was like, hey, you don't got to pull my arm twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Wes is like, I'll hop in on this bet too.
Yeah. I remembered. I played that tournament.
I was like, all right, $20 each. And he's like, sure. So I pull it up and thanks, Jason, for the $20.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing.
It was his tournament that he got second in. And somehow
we knew more about it than him. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So today, moving on to our actual topic for the day. This is a conversation I think is very important to be had. It's a conversation most people avoid. For the reason being because, it's not a very positive thing, right? But one thing I want to mention before we mention what it is, if you haven't already read the title of this episode, is that it's inevitable. It happens to all poker players, no matter who you are. And that's downswings.
Yep. Yeah, the not so fun topic of downswings. These are something, as Max said, that will happen to anyone. No matter how much of a winning player you are, you'll have some downswings, and then
you'll have not even just some downswings, but swings that what was it that Phil Gelfand had said?
You will have times when you run worse than you'll ever consider possible.
Even imagining, And I know I've gone through that. Wes has gone through that as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to be completely transparent about our experiences. This is something. If you're honest with yourself about downswings, you can learn a lot. There's an actual skill to maneuvering downswings, minimizing your losses, the right way to get out of a downswing. We're going to go over all the different things that we think can help you manage your downswing and then also maybe even get you out of it.
There we go.
Yeah.
So first thing that I kind of wanted to bring up is actually we're recording this right at the end of April here, and this month of April is actually the worst month of poker I've ever had personally.
Okay.
Not necessarily from a percentage of my bankroll or from a buy-in standpoint, but if you look at just the total dollar amount, it is the worst total that I've ever had.
Okay.
A lot of this has, I've been playing a lot of higher stakes cash online than I used to. And so I've had some upswings and, you have the downswings too. And then, also I've been on, I haven't really had a good score in a live tournament in a bit. And I haven't played a ton, but it's just been a few things here and there. And so, I look at the total at the end of the month and I'm like, geez, that feels silly, especially... for me, I do this for a living, and most of our listeners don't. But for me personally, it's like, this is something I do for a living. So even, a month where I'll break even, for example, I can't just have those over and over either. So
because you don't make money, right?
Yeah, when I have a big losing month, sometimes
I can imagine how much more painful it is when you strictly use poker as an income. I mean, obviously you have investments that make you money, et cetera. But when you only play poker as your primary source of income, and then you have, a month where you lose thousands and thousands of dollars, or just lose anything at all, it hurts because you start. I mean, a month is actually a long time. It's a lot of sessions.
For me, it really is like. I'm playing online a lot of days. I'm doing several live
and then
tournaments.
say you're having all of a sudden 20 losing set. Maybe obviously you have a couple wins here and there in between, but when all of a sudden you go through,
I've lost like 12 of my last 15 or something.
yeah, exactly,
and-
12 out of your last 15, or 20 out of your last 25 sessions or something like
or
that.
just a couple big ones.
It can weigh on you mentally, and it's easy to get caught into a loop of what am I doing wrong, what's my issue, and then that can spiral from there. I think to you start justifying bad plays, etc. Things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it can go a couple different ways, and we'll get into this. So the first mistake you can make is sort of ignoring it and saying, I'm just running bad. Sometimes this is true, and I think this is, during my swings, this is mostly what happens. I can always play better, but I don't think my play level at this point in my career varies too much. But it can be very easy to, just blame variance and not pay attention to what you might be doing wrong. So
And how that might affect what you're doing moving forward.
Yes. But then, and on the other side, there's also just getting hit with bad variance and overthinking it and trying to change too much when really you were just playing solidly to begin with.
And the cards just didn't fall your way, the variance, right? Let's start here, Wes. What is the definition of a downswing? When do you consider yourself on a downswing? And obviously this is kind of subjective. Right?
Yeah, for me it's either like a certain amount of money, or when I'm losing over a certain amount of time.
Yeah. That's
sort of
not normal.
Yeah, it's not a, like for example, I would say, and I'm not going to get into my specific dollar amounts on the podcast, but I'll say like over the last year and a half, I can think of 4 times I would consider it a downswing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's when it's not just a day or a couple sessions. It's really like when I get smoked
and
for
you
a little
clearly
while.
recognize. I mean, you're able to count how many of these you've experienced over just last year alone. For me, I think I've had 2 online downswings. Thankfully, they haven't been massive, but they are long enough to where I'm like, what the heck's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you question it.
Yeah, you do. And then also one live, So, I mean, I'm not on it's not, the live one hasn't been terrible, but it's, you can all of a sudden just go 10, 15, 20 tournaments without cashing a tournament. And you're just like, what is going on, right? Like, I'm supposed to cash, on average 1 out of 4 or 5 of these things. How am I quadrupling that with nothing? And that just goes along with what Phil says, right? Phil Galfond says. It's like, you can just sometimes run way worse than you even imagine. And there's nothing that guarantees you that even if you're the worst player in the world, you're not going to always just cash 1 out of 5. Like you'll have long streaks of tons of winning, and then you'll have long extra streaks of losing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what we can get into a bit is, regardless of why the downswing is happening, how do you respond to it? Because I think that's going to be the most important thing. That's the most important thing that I know you and I talk about, and that I think people can get from it. Because ultimately, whether your downswing is variance or your play, it's important to know that you always can get better. And I think for me, one thing that I've gotten out of my downswings is it's brought out my best in terms of studying and trying to improve, because I just so desperately want to get out of that.
Right. And I think a lot of people are desperate to get out of it, but what they do instead of studying is they just start changing their play, maybe becoming more aggressive, calling lighter, 3-betting lighter, which ends up putting them even further down the spiral.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to talk about how we can use a downswing as an opportunity to become a better player. In poker, like we were saying, everybody experiences downswings. And like I was mentioning earlier, a downswing can be a moment that can separate a great player from a bad player. And what I mean by that is people who are honest with themselves and use the downswing as an opportunity are going to lose far less than what someone who just ends up, spiraling their losses would do. You know what I mean? Someone who didn't study as much. Again, articulation, maybe not my strongest suit. Hopefully that point came across. But yeah, using the downswing as an opportunity. For example, a lot of times when I get lucky, or I hear this a lot from other people, you start to have these feelings emerge, like life is against me, or I'm unluckier than the other person. That's just not true, period.
Mm-hmm.
You're not unluckier or luckier than anyone else in the long
You
term. Maybe
have
in the moment you have.
You have been in a particular moment or maybe a few moments consecutively.
But in the term of the long run, your life, all of your sessions combined, you're equally as lucky as everyone else. There might be something else to that.
In poker tournaments, there will be some people who just get a little luckier because it's also about the timing of your luck, but it's not. It doesn't even matter. It's what I like to focus on is what are the useful thoughts that I can have? Because you can think about luck. The problem is those thoughts are not going to be useful for you.
Yeah.
There's no way to act on that.
Right, exactly. Those thoughts aren't useful for you. What's important is what separates the good players from the bad players is how do we recover from this? How do we improve from this? Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on how you would recover from a downswing?
Yeah, well, the way I've done it in the past is this is when I tend to double down the most on my studying. So I found that I've made the biggest improvements in my game when I'm the most determined. And I would say there are two types of times that have really stood out. Basically, it's the downswings. And then it's the times when I've decided I really want to take poker seriously, or the time I started playing full time and I studied a lot. So it's basically when I realize I need to be better, I feel like.
And it's funny because we have discussed in previous episodes, if you want to continuously get better, you're supposed to study when you're running good as well.
Yes, which I do, but I will admit that
obviously
it's not as much as when I'm
obviously it's easier to have a fire under your ass when things aren't going your way. When things are going your way, it's like, don't fix what's not broken, as they say. But that's not true in this case.
Yeah. A couple things that come to mind for me are really run hand, think about the hands you've played, really look at them, run them past other people whose opinions you really respect, and dig into, am I playing my normal game or am I making mistakes from a little bit of tilt? And is it a tilt thing, or is this just is it a poker knowledge thing? Is it a tilt thing? Or is it just variance?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's probably going to be some combination of factors. But
I think a lot of players who are newer are going to have trouble. People who aren't studied are going to have trouble distinguishing the two.
Yeah. Well, and to be completely honest, if you're a newer player, you're probably not a profitable player. And so, a downswing is a term, if you're new to the game, you're probably just going to experience
more
losses in general. And so it's the same thing where you need to improve your game.
Yeah. So, I like that.
Okay. Maybe instead of the word downswing, we should just say losing. Because it's the same for whether you're
a downswing is just a fancy word for losing over a streak of time.
Yes.
I think that's great. I think some things, I wrote down a couple of notes here, and please expand on these because I know some of the things I'm going to say are kind of controversial in a way. For example, like the first note I have here is tighten up. But in parentheses, I wrote, but not too tight, right? I think a lot of times when people go on downswings, they end up, maybe I'm not 3-betting enough, maybe I'm not wide enough. So they end up playing marginal hands from early position. They start limping. They start doing things that aren't normal to them, and they don't know if it's the correct or not thing to do.
Yeah, it's sort of the idea of, even if you're just playing one session, or I know we've talked about this in tournaments before, where if you have your starting stack and then you're down to half a stack, they're like, well, I just got to gamble to get back to starting stack, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same sort of mentality where if you've been losing recently, you've probably gotten unlucky a few times, and then there's this entitlement to, well, it's my turn to get lucky.
Yeah.
And I've got to get lucky one of these times.
And that's going to be your demise, essentially. You're not going to win with that mindset. Wes makes a great point I just want to touch before you move forward. And don't get me wrong, when I started playing, I would do this too. Like, say you start off with 20K in a tournament, you're down to 10K, and you're just like, it's still, we'll just say it's still 400 BB. So say you still have, over 25 bigs, right? instead of thinking I have half the stack of what I started with, I need to either double up or go rebuy, you're going to lose so much money with that mindset. Instead, don't even think about what the starting stack is and what your stack is compared to that. Think about how many big blinds you have in that moment and how you can play that stack to the best you can. That's going to make you the most money in the long run, period. So get those thoughts that are not helpful out of the way.
Yes.
Your starting stack is absolutely meaningless.
It's just an arbitrary number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can still win the tournament from the stack you have now without having to rebuy. Find out how many big blinds you have, play that stack optimally. So that's one thing.
Well
Start, and I noticed another thing too is people will start calling three bets light with marginal holding. Say you open king 10 off in early position, you get 3-bet in late position, or from any position for that matter. You start calling with king 10 off.
Yeah, I think.
And you're playing out of position with these really shit hands.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just
because you're tired of it, right?
Yeah, you're tired of it. I found that, and this goes for a lot of people, probably even myself, like the biggest mistakes that people will make are when they feel like they're being pushed around or they've had enough. They feel like they've been having to fold or they've been shown the best hand a lot.
Yep.
And so a lot of times I think people will play back at someone because they don't want to get pushed around.
And that's where we exploit opponents. So that's where a good player will take advantage of you.
Yep. And that is the exact opposite. If you're just think about what you're doing, you are using an emotional justification to play worse.
Yep.
If you're doing that.
And I think downswings heighten that emotional reaction. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's not within a session. It's over multiple sessions or multiple tournaments. You feel like you've been getting beat down, whether it's by the deck or by your opponents. You feel like you have to take a stand and really make a play on someone. And that's usually when the worst play might happen.
Do you remember Riverside a few weeks back?
Yeah, I do.
Do you remember the king-queen offhand I told
do.
you about?
Yep.
This is a prime example of that. I briefly brought this up, but didn't explain the hand history on a previous episode. But there was a spot where I had just been getting beat down with strong hands. I finally made it to the end of my line that I haven't experienced in a long time. It's been a long time since I've been there. And I let my emotions get the best of me to whereas I made an uncharacteristic play where I was like, you know what? I can outplay my opponent with this very marginal hand where he's showing
like a gutter.
Yeah, where he's showing pure aggression. And you know what I mean? And I had no showdown value, I had nothing. But I made a play that I think my whole table gasped, like, what the fuck is Max doing? And I mean, after the fact, I'm just like, wow, I let myself get there again.
I remember, because we just drove home after that. I had busted like 20 minutes before you did that time.
I mean, not only did I let my emotions get in the way, I was embarrassed.
Yeah. It's that feeling. Afterwards, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
that was a really dumb. I remember I had someone.
But in the moment, I was like, I'm just going to outplay my opponent here. It just didn't make sense, though. That was not
it wasn't. You didn't think he had a
justification.
hand that you were going to get him to fold necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It wasn't a spot you would usually take. Yeah. And
yeah.
I remember on the way home, you're like, that is not like me. Like, I don't make mistakes like that.
That was a very bad mistake. And I still think about it to this day. But again, this is being honest with myself and learning from it, right? So it doesn't continue to happen. I wasn't even on a downswing necessarily, but I dusted like 5 bullets.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what triggered it. So, yeah, another tip to recover from downswings, as we would say here, is don't play if not feeling competitive. There's been many days. I know this is actually really tough because oftentimes you don't have a lot of opportunity to play. But for me personally, there will always be another tournament that I can enter, whether it be online later that night or an MSPT a few weeks away. But I find myself, if I'm not hungry before I enter a tournament, I don't have good results and I don't play optimally. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Because you got something brewing up there.
No, I'm just kind of agreeing. Like there are times when I go in and, it's not that there's going to be a huge discrepancy in how I'm playing, but there are times when I know I'm more prepared than on other times. And a lot of times if I'm not feeling as great, there have been times when I'll still play And the tricky thing about poker is you can still have good results some of those times too. And it's not like my play is going to go from being a winning player to the worst player at the table, but I might be putting in myself in a spot that's like not nearly as optimal as I would be used to. And yeah, just listening to yourself, you can play a little bit more timidly if you're in a certain mood, or you could play a little bit more splashy, whatever it is. Just if you're feeling like a little bit lazy, those tough decisions will just end up a lot worse than usual.
100%. I know you had your worst month in your entire poker career over this last month. What, besides, the studying that that you've done now more recently because you want to get out of it, what other things do you do that help you recognize or maybe build confidence back to get out of that?
Yeah, a couple things. So if we think about it in terms of online, one of the things I can do that I do usually is maybe play a little bit lower volume or lower stakes for a bit. So
it's one of the things I've written down. I'll switch from, having 4 tables up to 1 or maybe 2.
Yeah, because if you're, let's say for me, I've had a bunch of days where I'm losing in the thousands.
Yeah.
Well, if I just put myself in the situation where I only play $600 worth of buy-ins, even if I lose it all, it's like, oh,
it's not half as bad.
That was a better day than the last 5. Maybe that was my third best session of the last 8.
Your downswing.
Yeah. So you can even in a weird way have a better session even if you lose the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
It also from a financial standpoint. Obviously, for me, I'm looking to usually play a higher amount of buy-ins and maximize my edge. But also what it really does is if I'm playing a lower level of buy-in, the tournament's a little softer. I feel like my decisions are a little easier. It's a little bit quicker for me to get back to the good results, even if I'm not making a ton like I'd want to. And also when I'm just playing less tables, I get to focus a little bit more on each decision and make sure that
it's the correct one instead of having to rush to another table and feeling like you're rushing your decision there. 100%. And that's kind of why I cap myself very heavily on what I play online specifically. Don't get me wrong. Like I can play, 6 tables at a time, but I can't do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
So I really limit myself to and I've dropped from 6 to 4 and now I'm down to 2 at most.
Yeah.
And what's funny is volume is so important in poker, right? But I just I have better results significantly, very noticeably different results when I lower my volume to where I focus more on each decision.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah, and it's been huge for me. And once it's so hard to not just register everything when there's all this value in front of me. But it helps keep me out of downswings or get me out of downswings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, lowering your volume. Another thing too that I want to bring up on that is being open about your downswings, letting other people in on it so that they're aware of what's going on and can maybe help you. Wes and I have no hesitation talking about our downswings to each other. He told me about his month already prior to this episode. And as a friend and, someone who's been through it myself, I just give him feedback that, might be skipping his brain that might help motivate him to get better. What did I say last night again? It was...
I don't remember.
Well, okay. Well, apparently that's you can just throw that whole last 30 seconds out the window. But no, I'm kidding. But it's we sit there and we'll just push each other and be like, hey, listen, in the long run, this is just a small blip of the amount that you're up infinite. Mm-hmm. So something along the lines of that.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, this is a whatever. Yeah. You didn't say a dent in the graph, but you could phrase that. This is just a quick downturn in the graph where you're up infinite. And
it's just helping him build confidence back. Reminding him that he is who he is. He's studied a lot. He's a great player. Because it's easy to get caught in these. What am I doing wrong? What's the issue here? So having friends that you can be open with it, I think, can go a long way. And then reminding each other what's important in downswings, like reducing volume size or taking a break or whatever it might be. For Wes, it's plugging himself back into the computer so he can recharge.
Yeah, pretty much. It's it's kind of like that. It's maybe taking a couple days where I'm going to be where I would usually play and just study more, make sure I get a lot of sleep, make sure I'm eating as healthy as I can, which, these are all things that I should be doing anyways, but just really making sure, because it could be a lot of different things. It could be maybe I'm just playing with a little less energy because I haven't slept as much, or because I'm, eating at weird times, or whatever it could be. All these things that I think can just make me play slightly better. Make sure I'm doing all those things. And, frankly, for this one, a lot of it was just losing some buy-ins in the higher stakes online cash. And so I'm like, you know what? With the World Series coming up, maybe this is just my, as you said, opportunity to just refocus myself on tournaments, because that's what this summer is going to be about.
Exactly, yep.
And that's kind of my plan.
Well, I remember last spring, prior to the WSOP, you reached out to me and you were like, I'm on the biggest downswing of my career right now.
Yep.
And then what I think it was like a few weeks later, you hit the biggest score of your life.
Yeah.
So
I just need to lose a little bit more money to make this the biggest downswing of my career.
I think what you need to do is just know that when you're in a downswing, is if you do the right things, you're just on your way out of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You'll always recover from it. You'll always get back on that upswing. It doesn't last forever, I promise, but you have to make sure that you're actually improving from your downswing, using it as an opportunity, not as a way to just go down on yourself or get down on yourself. Yeah, anyways. All right, Wes, you're killing me here.
All right. No, there was a thought that I had, and we were talking about this right beforehand. That was a doozy.
That was a doozy.
I almost can't remember what I was going to say, but it was something we were talking about right before we started recording. Fuck, no, I can't remember.
It's weird when Wes doesn't remember something, but yeah, so kind of just to touch back on things. Go ahead.
I remember now. So when part of playing poker is basically a game where you're trying to maximize your profit. It is a card game, but I have a buddy who's like, it's a money game that's played with cards, and you can kind of look at it that way too.
Yep.
But part of making the most money is not just knowing the most at the table, but one aspect of it is handling your downswings. And so when you are in a downswing, look at it as just another spot at the table.
Yeah,
This is another spot you're in, and you're going to try and figure out the best solution to it. That doesn't mean that today or tomorrow the result is going to be different, but make the decision and go about things in a way that will increase your EV in the long run.
It's so very well put. Gamify the downswing.
Yeah, gamify
it. Let it be part of the actual. Because again, anyone who plays poker for a living or like plays a lot of poker is going to experience downswings. Mm-hmm. And those, like I'd said earlier in this episode, those who know how to maneuver downswings are going to make way more money in the long run than those who just end up down spiraling. Mm-hmm. So gamify it, figure out what like you said, the best decision is to move forward. And we've discussed a ton of things here already today that you can do to help yourself get out of a downswing. I think another thing that we can talk about, another way to get out of a downswing, or to at least clear your mind of the downswing, which I think is super important as well. Because here's the thing: if you have the mental block, we'll call it, downswing, I feel like it's a block preventing you from moving forward, from getting back on the upswing.
Because when you're in a downswing, sometimes just the awareness of being in a downswing means that you feel like you're going to be in one next time you play too.
Exactly. And confidence is so crucial to making not only positive decisions, but having positive outcomes as well. Mm-hmm. I think our goal is to chip away at that downswing block that's sitting in our brain. We're here, we're in a downswing. how do we not think about that every time we play without having just multiple winning sessions in a row? Because you don't want to rely on just having multiple winning sessions on a row to get in a row to get you out of a downswing, right?
Yeah.
I know we've discussed this on previous episodes, but for me personally, taking a break, clearing myself of poker, for me, it takes a little bit longer maybe than other people. It differentiates between, for who you are. But if I take a week or a 2-week break completely from poker, don't get me wrong, it can be painful. I find myself wanting to play a lot. But when I come back to my next session, I find that my process or the way I'm looking at the game is already so much more refreshed and focused on that moment rather than what am I trying to overcome, which is the downswing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And I think even looking at it in terms of I was on a downswing. If you go to play a tournament, it doesn't matter. You were on a downswing last week, even if it goes all the way up until yesterday. You were on a downswing, but today you're at 0.
Yep. Yeah.
Whether you're winning, this goes for if you're winning too. Whether you're winning or losing leading up to today is its very own day, and you are not on an upswing or a downswing today. You're just playing the tournament today.
Okay.
Another thing I even thought of, you mentioned last year I had a downswing right before the WSOP.
Yep.
One thing I did to kind of mentally enforce that on myself, I don't even know if I've told you this. It's not like a big thing, but so I track my results on a spreadsheet or a Google sheet or whatever. Last year, I just stopped it, had my totals at the bottom, and I just created a new document that said part 2. And it was part 2 of 2023.
You're starting fresh.
Yeah.
It's funny how something as simple as that can just help the mindset.
Yeah.
Great time to push our episode, Upgrade Your Mindset,
Yes.
from February earlier this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was, I liked that one.
It was a great episode. And honestly, a lot of this stuff overlaps. My downswings are a very mindset thing.
Yep.
All of poker is in general, right? But when you're on a downswing, confidence, the way you play and everything is dictated kind of by your mindset. So definitely go check out that mindset episode if you haven't listened yet. That kind of goes hand in hand with this one. I think that one can really help you develop the tools needed to get you out of downswings quicker than you would have before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
How do you feel about upswings, Wes?
Those are fun.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
upswings.
God, I was just on one of those too.
Yeah,
But
do you ever use that as a tool to help you get out of a downswing? For example, thinking about your upswings and what you were doing then?
yeah, I mean, I think just thinking about those and thinking about how I was playing at the time and recognizing that the biggest difference is probably just how I felt a lot more than my play. I think I've mostly just gotten better at poker over time. And, there will be some days I play a little bit worse than others, but for the most part, I think I have been just getting better over time. And so an important thing to recognize is the difference between the upswings and downswings is mostly how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And so if I can control how I feel, that will be the biggest change.
And I feel like your feelings are what you do have control of.
You do. It's not always the easiest thing in the world.
Right. No, we're human, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
look at the people on the road.
you might be human.
Yeah. I like it. You're finally getting into it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, when I'm on a downswing, I just rewire a little bit.
Yeah. Beep, boop, beep, beep, beep.
Yep. Power back up.
I love it. I don't have much more I could think of on downswings, honestly. It's just such a mental thing. I think the things we've touched on are just the integrity you have of making sure that you're playing your best in the moments that you are experiencing a downswing. Finding ways to step away from poker to build your confidence so that you can come back in guns blazing.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that you have a group of friends or anyone, a significant other, someone that you can be open with to let the feelings out that are kind of bundling up. I know a lot of people who are in downswings I have friends, and maybe even myself at one, back in the day, if I can speak correctly, where I would just hold that stuff in, and I think it's almost like therapy, letting it out. You can move past it once you let it out to people who actually listen and understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just thinking it's like when you're on more of a downswing, it's easy to think about the bad beat you just took or whatever, but just recognize it's probably not so much that one hand you just played, it's the accumulation of the last however long it's been.
Yeah.
And it's just like the frustration leading up to that more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, having control of your emotions is probably the biggest tool to getting yourself out of a downswing, recovering from a downswing, is that don't allow your emotions to impact your play. Don't call 3-bets lighter. Don't just start making marginal plays because you're not thinking hard enough.
Yep. Yeah, and
you go into autopilot a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then that brings it back around to keep studying because, no matter who you are, it can be easy. Me playing tilted might be a little different than someone who's played poker 25 times in their life playing tilted.
Mm-hmm.
But there will even be stuff that I maybe do a little bit differently. And continuing to study and talk hands with people, talk strategy, that will make sure for me that I'm not deviating from what I know was my winning strategy before.
It's a great psychological tool. And the reason why studying can be so good, even if it's not studying directly the issues that you're having in that, the things you're experiencing there, the hand that you just played, what studying will do is it'll help keep you sharp and focused. So, you know what I'm saying? So that when you are playing a hand, even if you didn't study this particular spot specifically, you will be on a elevated level of thinking, like, what can I do here, instead of just going in autopilot, like I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. I thought of something that it's sort of related, and it's pretty small, but let's say you're finding yourself in situations where even if you get it in good, let's say you have 75%, you're just worried, please, no ace, no king, or
you're focusing on it. So you're hyper focused on it.
You know what? Here's one thing I started doing one time, and it kind of works a little better. So let's say your opponent has an open ender. They have 9-10 on jack 8-4 deuce, and you're all in, and you have a jack. So you're fading 8 outs. Instead of thinking no queen, no 7, just pick like a 4 and say, think about it being a 4.
Yeah.
Obviously, it usually won't be a 4, but then even when it's not the card you hoped, you still mostly are happy with the result.
Yeah, most of the time.
And sort of shifting your mindset of praying for a card not to come. You're just kind of.
Well, didn't you know that when you pray for a card, when you're focusing so hard by praying for a card not to come, that
it's twice as likely to,
or maybe even 3 times. It magically changes within how the deck's already shuffled to the card you don't want.
It is.
I don't know how that happens.
I don't know how it happens.
But
and if your opponent is under the age of 25, it's even more likely.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like significantly.
Yeah. No, but I do think, and I think Phil Galfond has talked about this too. If you are finding yourself in a hand, so obviously if you're already all in and it doesn't matter, then that's one thing. But if, let's say you make a bet on the turn and your opponent is thinking about calling, instead of just praying for the right card or at least not the wrong card on the river, just think about, well, if that happens, then what's my plan? Because I feel like when you're on a downswing, it can be easy to find yourself hoping for the right cards to come. And that's just a waste of emotional energy,
Yep.
Use that time and energy to plan. If that worst card comes, okay, that's just an opportunity to check fold. Like every time you have a decision, you have an opportunity to make the right play. And it sucks when that means you're going to lose the pot, but it still means you cannot lose that extra bet on the river.
You're going to minimize your loss, which is just as important as, maximizing your wins.
Mm-hmm. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. This is a long run game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is all super helpful, definitely for me to kind of just, to go over and talk about a couple of resources I wanted to mention. I was digging online for some stuff regarding downswings in preparation for this, and A video I really enjoyed was listening to Fedor Holz on YouTube under Poker Code. I think that's his business.
I remember I was
It's like a coaching
watching
thing.
during one of my downswings. I watched a bunch of those. But yeah, so which one were
Sorry, I
you?
was drinking water there. But yeah, no, there's a video where he just type Downswing Poker Code Fedor Holz, and he's sitting in his apartment discussing the mental game of downswings, which is obviously everything, right? He talks about a Jared Tendler book, who was a psychologist that wrote poker books. I actually read some of his stuff back in the day, but he goes over some of the key concepts and core concepts that can help you develop a strong mindset, not only to help you get out of downswings, but to maybe even help you avoid them. Not completely.
Not completely, but
Yeah. So that was a good resource. And there's a bunch of them. Maybe I can find some and add them in the show notes as well.
yeah. I think Fedor and Phil Galfond, I think they have a lot of really good videos.
Just make sure, if you're experiencing it, do some research online. Or send a message to Wes and I, and we can definitely help give you some pointers. I know a lot of people experience this. If you're someone who's experiencing a downswing right now, we got a hotline to call. Call 1-800.
That is a good. It does remind me of one other thing though. This goes back to making sure you're playing within your bankroll or within your budget, whatever you might kind of characterize it as. Because one thing that will make the downswing infinitely worse is if you actually feel financial stress from it.
100%. Yep. I think taking shot taking, playing bigger tournaments, playing bigger cash games when you're in a downswing is not ideal.
Yeah, there can be a temptation to
try and get yourself out of it
Yeah,
faster.
it's like, oh, well, I just need to win a couple buy-ins to get unstuck.
You end up putting yourself down a hole further most of the time. So,
And so, yeah, no, that's a great point. And just go back to bankroll management. There is, making plans on the front end with your money will make it so that you've sort of prepared yourself for the possibility. And so at least you won't find yourself in a situation that you could not have foreseen. Right?
Yeah. Well, Wes, I think we'll go ahead and start wrapping things up here. What does your near future look like? We have about 4 weeks, a little over 4 weeks until 4 weeks almost exactly until the World Series of Poker starts. So excited. Excited. We got a house out there. We're going to be having a great time. What is poker? What does life look like for you up until then?
Yeah. Well, I'm going on a couple trips here. Neither one has to do with poker.
There you go. Maybe this will help you reset from the current downswing you're on.
Yeah, it'll be good. And then I'll be back for a bit. But yeah, I mean, throughout the month of May, I won't play a ton, but I'll play a little bit online, maybe one live tournament until, the World Series starts on I think mine and your first event will be the 500 Freeze on the 29th.
Yep.
A lot of it's going to be studying. I'm sure we'll do some review sessions and... yeah, it's just going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm going to be lowering my volume and upping my studying. It's time. I mean, I want to win a bracelet this year so bad. Even if it doesn't come this year, it will come due to the effort that I'm about to put into it.
That's the attitude I like to hear.
Yeah, it's
I'm
inevitable.
hungry for them. That's why I'm not even playing. I know you're going to play some of the Win or Aria stuff.
Yeah,
and
MGM, some of the smaller stuff for sure. And you're going balls to the wall big.
I think so. I might mix it up a couple times, but I don't,
I'm looking for value out there. I know it comes once a year to play the series, but there's just so many good small buy-in big value things.
I kind of feel like the value is in the W. There's higher variance because of how big the fields are, but I feel like the value is in the bracelet.
And I'm not going to be missing any of the really good value tournaments at the World Series.
That's
either.
fair.
I'm just going to make sure that, I'm playing within my means.
Yep.
So,
that's smart.
Yeah, exactly.
In case you go on a downswing,
yeah,
you'll be happy you did that.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we'll a shot take. I think our shot take is going to be playing the main event.
Yeah, that's the one every year, and I'm selling for that. I'm selling quite a bit for that. It's not a big financial shot the way I do that, and I know the way you do it too. But yeah, that is the 110K I'll play.
So also, just so you guys know, just to kind of talk about what's going to be happening with Suited Kings during the World Series of Poker, we will continue dropping episodes every single week throughout the entire World Series of Poker. We actually are bringing all the recording equipment right to Vegas, right to our Airbnb, and we're going to I don't know if we're going to make like a World Series podcast series, something along the lines of that, where we just discuss what happened that week, what's the scores looking, what's going on with our house. Just kind of
live from the WSOP.
Live from the WSOP, something like that. If you guys think that would be a cool idea, let us know in the Discord under suggestions. That might be where we take this during the World Series. But we're definitely 2 goals during the World Series. Goal number 1 is continue making content no matter what, every single week. So we'll continue dropping episodes every week. The second is to make sure that
unless I win over $1 million, I'm never talking to any of you again.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. You didn't have to say just kidding. What would you do without me?
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just kidding, Wes. But yeah, I think it'd be cool. I mean, we'll have the opportunity to meet a bunch of really good players out there that are, top class. So maybe we can steal them, come back to the house for some podcasting.
Maybe. We'll see.
If they don't think they're going to get murdered or something.
We'll be in a better area this year.
Yeah. I got the logos back from our logo artist. So we got some merch that is now in the works here. I was hoping to have that ready by the MSPT, but lo and behold, it was not. So we will be firing that out for the World Series of Poker. Probably a very limited release on the first stuff just to see how it goes, right? I mean, I know a lot of you are interested in buying some of the merch. We'll keep it limited, and those who get their hands on it, we'll have a little special piece of Suited Kings history, as it'll be, a very limited and a very limited launch, essentially.
Yep. And lastly, I think as far as Suited Kings goes, we are considering doing a few things. We've dabbled in some, YouTube shorts, and then also we've each recorded a couple of online sessions that we might do some commentary over, just talking strategy. I'd be curious to hear some people's feedback on if they'd want to, watch that sort of thing, listen to us talk about how we play.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of content creators use a service called Patreon to help support their content creation. Wes and I currently do all of this, obviously free of charge. So I think, we're considering doing a Patreon where you can have a small monthly subscription if you want $5 to $10. This podcast, first off, I just want to clarify, will always be free.
Yeah.
You'll always get to enjoy this free of charge, but we're considering doing a Patreon where you can get even more content, behind the scenes content, behind the scenes training and stuff like that at very valuable prices. So something that we're considering for the future. If that's something that interests you, again, suggestions in the Discord channel. Let us know your thoughts on that. Other than that, Wes, anything else you got?
That's about it.
All right, man. Well, Jason, thanks for the $20 from lunch earlier.
Yeah.
And for lunch as well.
I don't know if I have a Venmo notification yet, though. I don't know if I've gotten it.
Pay that man his money. All right. With that, guys, hope you have a wonderful day, night, morning, evening, breakfast.
Shut up. Shut the hell up.
Peace.